Hey guys, it's Kels back at it again with another video, another Friday night live. I promised you guys that each and every Friday night I would go live, I would show my face. So here I go, back at it again. It's about 7:30 Eastern US time, and I'm about half an hour late, but we're here. I already see Ferd in the building. I appreciate you being here, boo. I know it's really late where you are, but the love, I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the love. So, anyway, I promised you guys that we would go live. This is on to week 32. You already see the subject of the video in the title if you're paying attention, but we will do our regular run through the topic options for this week because we did drop 4 options for you guys to vote on Instagram and on YouTube, and y'all voted and we got into the number. We're going to get into the number one topic tonight. But before we get into all of that, you guys know the deal. Come on in. Let me know where you are watching from and what you are sipping on. And if you are watching us live, we always have a live crew with us. Chime in the comments, smash that like button. And if you are part of our replay gang, if you're catching us on replay, because you know the replay gang is strong around here. So if you're watching us a part of replay gang, drop this emoji in the chat and let me know your thoughts on tonight's Friday night kickback. We always want to hear what everybody has to say, learning from the collective wisdom of the It's Kels community. Yes. So it's Friday. We're getting into that. We're fast approaching that 8-8 Lionsgate portal. If you are not paying attention, those of us who really be paying attention to the stars and the celestial bodies and all of that, woo-woo spiritual stuff knows that we are fast approaching a very important portal and that you probably should have been preparing for way before now. But this time of year, for me particularly, always is an opportunity to jump and to change and to make some big life changes. And it always seems to happen right around this Lionsgate 8-8 portal. So if you've been paying attention or if you notice things happening or if you're feeling like some changes coming in, that's probably what's going on, just to let you guys know. But so I've been feeling that deep and heavy this week. But before we get into more of what the week is giving us, let's take a cheers. Let's do a quick cheers. You guys know we always do a quick cheers at the top of the broadcast. Today we are cheersing to, what are we going to cheers to? Let me think. Today we are going to cheers to, I'm going to cheers to 1 year in my home. Bought a house 1 year ago today, signed on the dotted line. So I'm going to cheers and give gratitude and appreciation to roofs over our heads, shelters, masculine containers that keep us protected and supported, because we love the support around here, and loved and sheltered. And yeah, we're going to give our appreciation. Cheers to that. We're also going to cheers to, what do I want to cheers to? I want to cheers to forgiveness. I don't know. I just feel like cheersing to forgiveness. I feel like cheersing to forgiving others and ourselves. And yeah, I just feel like that's what a cheers is for tonight. So yes, clink, 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 clink. Let's take a sip. Today I am actually sipping on a little libation today. I'm sipping on my girl's rum brand. So Kingston Bay rum with a little unsweet tea and a little lemon and all of that. I know you guys know I always like to do a little sprinkle some stuff. So I'm wetting my whistle this evening. Yes. So let me make sure that we're looking good on the camera. Seems like we are. And then also let me just check to make sure that the feed is coming in properly. Oh yes, the feed is coming in properly. And let me just click on it, make sure. Yes, it's coming in. Okay. Ferd in the building. So first things first, let's do this. Let's jump on and look at the topics that we had. Wait a minute. Ferd is in the building. Ferd, what's going on? How are you feeling, Ferd? How has this week been for you? How has the week been for all of us who are watching? I know a lot of people like to watch and don't like to comment, but come on, let me know how the week has been going. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys know I had to dress up for you. I had to doll up on the Friday These you guys are my Friday night date. You know what I mean? And so I promise that each and every Friday I will be here. So I gotta put a little something. I gotta beat the face a little bit. You know what I mean? I can't be out here looking all regular. I have to look a little nice for you guys because you guys are my Friday night dates. And yeah, love it. Okay. So let me know how your week has been. How are you feeling? How are things feeling? How's it going in South Africa? How's it going across the world? How's it going? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me know. And as you guys feel like chiming in, let's pop over to Instagram. I kind of want to do the topic rundown um, pretty quickly so that we can get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation. You know what I mean? Because I'm already running a little bit late, but still want to get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. So let's jump on over and look at how you guys voted. Okay. So you guys know that each Friday Eve, aka Thursday nights, I drop 4 topic options for you guys to vote on that decides what we're going to be talking about on our Friday night kickbacks. Last week we did it a little bit differently. Last week I didn't drop 4 options. I just kind of picked the topic that we kind of had been skirting by each week, but I really wanted to talk about it. So last week I made the executive decision to just push a topic out there, and it was good. We got some good feedbacks. I got my first what do you call that, super chat. Somebody sent me a super chat cash app thing, a token of appreciation. That felt so good. I was so excited by that because that was my first one, and I wasn't really I had set intention that would be nice, but I really wasn't expecting it in that particular time. So to receive that was so sweet. It warmed my heart so much. And so last week was an interesting week. Last week was definitely an interesting week. This week we resumed our regular voting. So we drop our 4 topic options on Thursday Eve, Friday Eve, which is Thursday nights, and we drop it on Instagram. You make sure you're following me there to see the happenings during the weekend to be able to vote. And then we also drop our topics here on the community tab on YouTube. So you have the opportunity to vote there as well and let us know what you want us to talk about. Mm-hmm. So Ferda saying, I'm blessed, busy watching U2O World Championship. South Africa is bad. Riots. What's that? Riots bad. Is that for soccer or football? U2O World Championships. I don't know what that is. Tell me what that is. Is that soccer or is that racing? I know there was some track and field type of things happening. Okay. So meanwhile, when Ferd catches us up, let's do the topic rundown. Okay. So last night, Thursday night, dropped 4 topic options, and they were: number 1 was how to confidently step out into unknown territory. So the reason why this was potentially a topic that we could talk about today is because I told you guys, like this 8-8 portal, there's a lot of shifts, a lot of changes happening right now, for the good and for the bad. But over here we always set the intention for the good shifts and the positive momentum, right? And so, there's a lot of changes and things happening right now. And I thought that it may have been important for us to talk about how you navigate when you're stepping into this new world, when you're stepping to do a new project or a new job or start a new life somewhere or have a baby or something new, you're sometimes stepping out into this like dark territory that you can't fully see. But how do you confidently do that? How do you confidently start your new chapter? And so that was kind of the reasoning for the first topic option. On Instagram, I got 0%. So maybe y'all ain't started new chapters and things like that. Or maybe didn't really fully understand that question. But regardless, that was the thinking behind, how to confidently step out into unknown territory. Yeah. The unknown does scare a lot of people. So I can imagine that not a lot of people wanted to talk about this unknown territory. So anyway, so that got 0%. Goose egg. All right. So then option number 2 was knowing what to do versus actually doing it. Knowing what to do versus actually doing it. This actually came out as number 1 on Instagram. It crept up to 57% of the vote. And what we were thinking about there is knowing what to do versus actually doing it. So what the conversation could potentially be about, oh, maybe we'll talk about this next week. Maybe I'll drop it again next week and we'll go with that option. But knowing what to actually do versus doing it. So I feel like, especially in the age of information, especially with all the access to the internet and access to Google and access to here on YouTube and search engines, and knowledge is like super, super abundant, right? You can always do a quick Google search and find the information. But what is that key point? What is that key differentiator between knowing the information and actually acting upon it? Actually using that information to propel real change in your life or in your mindset or in your body or in your thinking or in your activities or your habits or your processes. How do you take that information and transmute it, alchemize it from just strictly information that just sits in your mind or sits on a computer screen into something that is a living, breathing action embodiment, inspired action, based on that and based on the information? What's the difference, and like how do you actually do that? That's what we were. That's the option. It came out as #1 on Instagram, but it came out too late. But we might talk about it next week if you guys are interested in that. Okay. So that was the thinking for option #2. Option #3: how your triggers snitch on you. How your triggers will cold snitch on you. You know what I mean? And so we'll talk about what we mean by triggers. We'll talk about what we mean by snitch, and we'll talk about what all that means. So that came in at 43% of the vote on Instagram, and it was #1 for a while. So I was thinking that's what we was gonna talk about. But right at the end there, knowing what to do versus actually doing it crept up. But we gotta stick to what we said we're gonna talk about. So tonight we are talking about how your triggers snitch on you. Okay, and we'll get into that. And then #4 option: why you desire love, why we all desire love, but secretly hate it. You, that came in at 0% of the vote. Y'all don't want to talk about love. Y'all don't want to talk about love tonight, but it definitely was an option to talk about. And this came out because I was out. I've been going out, and some nights after our kickbacks we go out, or some other days during the week we go out. And you run into conversations with people, and one of the conversations, or one of the feelings, like, and sometimes people talk and you get this kind of sense of their feeling versus what they're saying. It kind of differs. And I don't know if all of us are like this. Like, I consider myself somewhat of an empath. So sometimes you can pick up people's essence or what they're feeling, different than what they're actually saying, right? And so one day last week or 2 weeks ago, I was out, and there was a woman there, and she was talking about, oh, I'm looking for this and I'm looking for that, and I'm looking for relationships and I'm looking for that. But her feeling and her essence felt like she was annoyed. She was annoyed by the process, or annoyed by love, or annoyed by not feeling completely in command of how that process works. And so a few days after that, I was still thinking about that encounter with her. And I thought, do we realize, should we talk about how you could say you want something, but the feeling that you're pushing out for it is actually against it? You know what I mean? Can we, do we recognize that? Can we understand that? How does that feel? What does that mean? How does that play out when you want something, but you actually loathe it? You know what I mean? Or you're giving like negative emotions about it, or negative energy about it, but you're saying you want it. What kind of results do you see when you're in that kind of duality? You know what I mean? And so that came in at 0%. Y'all wasn't going to talk about that. So your #1 and 2 on Instagram was knowing what to do and versus actually doing it, and how your triggers snitch on you. Okay. So that's what the voting looked like over on IG. And then we're going to take a sip, and then we're going to go ahead and look at what the numbers played out on YouTube, and then we're going to get into our topic. But we start with our topic rundown. You know what I mean? There we go. We start with our topic rundown, and then we get into the topic. Yeah. All right, so take a quick sip. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay. So, let's do the topic rundown on YouTube and then we'll get into the conversation. Okay. So, same four options over from IG, pull over to YouTube because you guys get to vote as a little bit of a separate community. And so, number one, how to confidently step out into unknown territory. That came in at 17% of the vote here on YouTube. Knowing what to do versus actually doing it. That came in at 17% of the vote here on YouTube. How your triggers snitch on you. 33% of the vote here on YouTube. And tied for number one here on YouTube, why you desire love, but secretly hate it. 33% of the vote as well. So we're tied up on YouTube. So I 17, 17, 33, 33. So that sounded like a rap or something, didn't it? 17, 17, 33, 33. So we that's what the numbers were looking like on YouTube versus IG. And so I went ahead and made the executive decision to talk about how your triggers snitch on you, right? For tonight's kickback, week 32. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. Mhm. So, shall we get into the topic? What's been going on? Let me think what else has been going on in the world. Getting into August. Have you guys been traveling? Like, I feel like, I don't know if a lot of people have been traveling. You guys know I absolutely love to travel. I'm going to start traveling again soon, and also traveling again soon, and also putting out some content about travel because I think it's really, really important to encourage that. And you guys know I'm like a little bit of a travel bug, so I want to write down to remember to start talking about travel a little bit again. Okay. So let's get into the topic at hand. How your triggers snitch on you. What do we mean by, let's first start out by defining, like, what do we mean by triggers? What do we mean by triggers and what do we mean by snitching? Okay. So what do we mean by triggers? Triggers are usually negative feelings or negative emotions that you experience as a result of maybe having a conversation with somebody, or a result of reading something or seeing something or hearing something, somehow ingesting or somehow taking in some information or some conversation or somebody's opinion that doesn't sit right with you. For some reason, it makes you either sad or mad or upset, or it triggers a memory of something that doesn't feel good to you. Somehow there is some discomfort, some uncomfortable emotions experienced based on a trigger or something that sparked that for you. So think of like when you're lighting a fire, that match, that strike of the match, that thing that strikes the match, that is like a trigger, for you, for some sort of emotional, usually discomfort. So that's what we mean by like triggers. This could be an example of this is like you could be having a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden they bring up a topic that is like sad for you or upsetting for you, and that just you don't even want to talk about, and you just find yourself having like angry or sad or upset emotions based on them just busting out into the conversation saying something that you didn't really necessarily want to talk about, or that made you feel uncomfortable. for some reason. So that's kind of an example of a trigger. So also, sometimes you see on social media, if it's like a negative story, like some sort of bad, scary story, they'll put a trigger warning before they push it onto social media to warn you that, hey, this might be uncomfortable for certain viewers. And so those trigger warnings are there to like warn you beforehand, so you're not just blindsided with some negative information being or view or video or image being pushed to you without you having an opportunity to ready yourself, or without you having an opportunity to decide that I don't want to see it. It's a courtesy. A trigger warning is a courtesy so that you have the opportunity to say, I'm not interested. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be triggered. You know what I mean? And that's a courtesy that does not happen often. That's like when a professional, social media platform does that as a courtesy to their viewers. But normally in everyday conversation, or normally if you put on the TV and put on any news, ain't no trigger warnings. All of a sudden you're just bombarded with some negative story that makes you feel uncomfortable, or some information that makes you feel uncomfortable, or reminds you of a situation that you don't want to remember, or that it was traumatizing for you. It just like slaps you in the face, you know what I mean? So normally that's what ends up happening, but lately we have been noticing that people have been a little bit more courteous in putting out trigger warnings. So that is what a trigger is, first and foremost. Secondly, what do we mean by snitch? You guys know we have a replay gang is strong around these parts, and we have viewers from all over the world, all over the globe. And so most of us know snitch, what snitching, cold snitch means, you know what I mean? Like a snitch. But sometimes we have some viewers that don't recognize the slang. And so we always want to be like as clear and as transparent as possible, right? So what do we mean by snitch? Snitching is like revealing information that you don't usually about you, that you don't want revealed. So if somebody snitched on you, they revealed some sort of information about you, or some sort of information about some topic that you did not want it to be public knowledge, or you didn't want that person to know. You know what I mean? Another term for snitch is like a rat. You know what I mean? That when somebody rats you out, they go and tell the police what happened, or they go and tell your mom. Your sibling could be a rat, or there could be a tattletale. A tattletale, like running to tell all the information or telling what happened. You know what I mean? And so all of those are synonymous, right? Snitch, rat, tattletale. You know what I mean? All of those things are kind of synonymous. Seeing 222 on the clock, if you're into numbers. So that's what snitch is, right? It's like telling information that you don't want told, sharing information that you do not want told, right? Right. And so that's what we mean by triggers, and that's what we mean by snitch. So when we're saying how your triggers snitch on you, we're talking about how those things that trigger you, how those things that make you feel upset, tell or reveal something about you that you may not even known about yourself, or that you may have known but didn't want people to know. Your triggers can reveal wounds. Your triggers can reveal traumas about you to people, depending on your reaction, or to yourself, that you ain't want told, that you didn't want revealed, that you didn't even realize were hidden. You don't even know that was a wound. You don't even know you was traumatized there until somebody said something and it triggered you. it triggered you. You know what I mean? And so how do you know? So then how do you know when you're triggered? It's how you feel. It's an internal feeling. You're triggered because you're upset. And you don't fully know, you don't even fully know why. You may not even fully know why something in particular was so upsetting to you. You might not even know why. But that's what this conversation is about, is letting you know that, oh, shoot, that triggered me. That person, or what they said, or what they did, or what I just saw, or what I just heard triggered me. So what is that? What is that trigger telling me? What is that trigger snitching? What's that trigger revealing? What's that trigger tattletelling? What's that trigger ratting out? What is that trigger snitching? What is it telling me about myself? What is it revealing to myself? A lot of times your triggers will reveal areas where you have wounds or where you have traumas that it's time to heal. So when you hear all these people talking about, oh, you have to heal, you have to heal, you have to heal, and they're not talking about like a cut to be healed. They're talking about some emotional healing or some mental or mindset healing or some internal self-love healing. When they're talking about that healing, how you identify what needs to be healed is sometimes revealed to you by your triggers. That's how your triggers be snitching on you. So sometimes when you're in situations where you find yourself upset about something, recognize that, oh, there may be a wound or a cut or an abrasion or something unhealed there for me emotionally or in my heart or in my perspective about, or my mindset, or how I feel about a situation or how I think about a situation. It's the trigger is showing me something that it may be time for me to work on healing. It may be time for me to work on addressing that wound, that trigger. You know what I mean? Imagine you have a cut and you put, you put alcohol in your hand and all of a sudden you're like, dang, I didn't even know I had a little cut there. I didn't even know I had a paper cut right here. I didn't feel the paper cut until the alcohol got on it. I didn't feel the wound. I didn't feel the unhealed emotion until I got triggered. The whole trigger snitched on me. The cut, the alcohol, which was the trigger, revealed that I had a cut there that I didn't even know I had. I didn't even know I had a cut there till I got triggered. You know what I mean? So it's just an interesting perspective that we're talking about today is, how your triggers reveal things about you that you may not even have recognized. Yeah. What say you guys? So, why is this important? Who cares? Like, why is it important to recognize when your triggers are snitching on you? Like, why is it important to know what your triggers are trying to tell you? Because again, these are the places where healing might be necessary. And when you're talking about healing, you're talking about growth. You're talking about ascension. You're talking about elevation. You're talking about getting into the next chapter. You're talking about taking your next steps. You're talking about reaching your next goals. Sometimes when you're trying to make moves or you're trying to take steps forward and you're having a hard time reaching those goals, it's because there's some parts of you that are unhealed. There's some parts of you that need some attention that you're unaware of or you haven't gotten there yet. That's why it's important sometimes to recognize your triggers as places where that need healing. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times we have the conversation about haters. We talk to somebody or somebody comes up in a situation and we don't like what they have to say. We don't like their comments and we immediately classify them as a hater. I want us to kind of be careful with that because yes, they could very well be a hater. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. They could very well just be a hater. Be saying something that has no benefit, has no warrant, has no redeeming qualities to it. It's just them putting out an opinion that don't got nothing to do with nothing. It's not really trying to, be supportive or help anything. It might very well be that. But can we consider that it could be a trigger, not a hater? Consider that it could be a trigger they're triggering you, trying to reveal something to you that it's time to address within yourself. So I can see how a hater and somebody who triggers you could feel similar. I feel like that could feel real similar. You know what I mean? But there is a difference. There is a difference, and I think if we pay attention to, like, okay, I don't like what they have to say. Are they a hater or are they revealing a trigger to me? Is my trigger snitching on me? Like, what is my trigger trying to tell me right now? You know what I mean? And you make the decision, but at least you have like a distinct perspective. Like, all right, nah, they're a hater. Or actually, dang, I didn't like what they had to say, but why? Why didn't I like what they had to say? I think that's the other part of not mixing up haters and triggers is a hater, there's like no warrant to what they have to say. It's just like annoying. It's just like whatever. But a trigger, if you ask the deeper question, if you ask yourself, why is that triggering me? Why am I triggered by that? If you can actually come up with if you actually understand or have some sort of revelation or some understanding of why that's triggering you, you could really learn a lot about yourself. And you could really, learning about yourself and understanding yourself and looking at the patterns of your life and the patterns of what's triggering you can really help you move in certain directions or understand your life a little bit better. Because once you start understanding the patterns, when you can start seeing the patterns of your triggers, you can start seeing the patterns in the way you think, you can start seeing the patterns in the way that you behave. All of those things will reveal kind of a blueprint of who you are. So it ends up revealing yourself to yourself, if you're interested in that. If you're interested in revealing yourself to yourself, into understanding your patterns, into understanding your mindsets, into understanding your triggers, into understanding your points of genius, and to understanding your points where you need healing. If you're really interested in learning about yourself, your triggers are another set of data points. Is another set of information that you can use to better understand yourself. To better understand yourself. A lot of us, are in isolation a lot. Isolation meaning single. A lot of us spend a lot of our time, alone outside of work or things like that. And you hear people have the conversation about, oh, it's because, I'm supposed to be, spending time with myself, or God has me doing this or doing that or doing that. And the conversation will be around, the conversation sometimes ends up being around, well, I'm supposed to be learning myself. I'm supposed to be loving myself. I'm supposed to be, doing all of these things. All of that means learning who you are, learning your own energetic blueprint, learning how you think, learning how you behave, learning how you love, learning what you like, learning what you love, learning what your hobbies are, what you enjoy doing, knowing those things about yourself so that you could be a clear vessel to attract what you want. Sometimes you're in that isolation because in isolation you're forced to understand and to learn yourself better. So if you're in that isolation, use that time to learn and know yourself better. Look at one of the data points. Look at your triggers and look at the patterns to them, because that's going to reveal a story to you that you may not even have known about yourself. You may not even know. You know what I mean? That's how your triggers be snitching on you, telling all your business. And the gag is like sometimes I was watching what's that show? Real Housewives of Dubai. I like the show. Okay, it's really good. It's cute. And one of the girls, they're always fighting on there. And this one is actually like a little bit more classy. So they do their little classy fighting because they're only in season 1. And one of the girls said a comment to the other one, about, oh, you should be sweeter to your son or something like that. And the other girl kind of blew up and made a huge scene about it. And while one girl was kind, she was, it's inappropriate to talk about anybody's parenting style unless the child is being abused and you need to alert authorities. But like, you should be sweeter or more kind to your son. That's kind of like her opinion. But the woman that who received that comment blew up about it. And you could really tell by her as a third party watching. So I'm the audience watching the conversation or watching the argument. And as somebody in a third party, you could really see that the woman had a huge wound or a huge trigger, or she had a huge emotional reaction. One that was seemed to be way out of way over the top for the comment. She was triggered. And anybody who was watching could tell that she has a huge wound as it relates to how to raise her son, or it may be how she was raised, or it may be how she's insecure about how she's raising her son. There was something there. There was some trigger there because her trigger snitched on her. The way she responded to a comment about, oh, be closer to your son, and blew up like a whole, bomb, like the World Trade, some sort of bomb. The way she blew up, you could tell, oh, there's something going on there. There's something going on there. So other people can see, if you're not aware, you might be like, oh, I don't care. I don't want to, I don't want to address that. I don't want to address that. But believe that your triggers will not, if your triggers is not snitching to you, it's snitching to other people. Other people can see it based on how you react to how you're triggered. Other people may be able to pick up something that you might not even be able to pick up. Looking at that woman and how she reacted to that little comment about, oh, be closer to your son, she blew up. It could have been, there's something there. There's some wound there that, salt got thrown into. You know what I mean? And so it reveals, sometimes it can reveal like an insecurity or a trauma or some issue. You know what I mean? Some issue. So rather you pay attention to your triggers and what is revealing versus being oblivious to it or being blind to it. And your triggers revealing your personal wounds and traumas to other people. And then people are sometimes manipulative. Some people will use your triggers against you. You know what I mean? You don't want somebody else being able to use your triggers against you and manipulate you because you're blind to your own wounds, or you're blind to your own spots that need healing. Let your triggers snitch, but let them tell you. Be aware of what the trigger is snitching to you about. You know what I mean? So you can bring it up to heal it or address it or ask questions about it. Look more deeply into it. Be inquisitive about your own mindsets and behaviors. Be inquisitive about your own traumas and your own emotions. You know what I mean? Be inquisitive about yourself. Be in love with yourself. Be in love with yourself. Be in love with, understanding yourself. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. This don't even taste that good. Okay. So, all right. So what are we talking about? Higher triggers. What do you mean? And then you guys don't have a little bit of notes right here. I like to just jot down like a few bullet points before we come on live so that we're not like too, talking about randomness. We talked about what do we mean by triggers. We talked about what do we mean by snitch. We talked about wounds, cuts, traumas being revealed, and what needs to be brought up for healing, what needs to be brought up to be addressed. You know what I mean? We talked about how not to mix up a hater with somebody who's just a trigger, somebody who's just triggering you. Let's not, let's be aware of like, are they a hater? Should you really block them out of your life, or should you actually on some level Listen to what they have to say so that you can understand yourself a little bit better. Why, how do you, why what they have to say bother you so much? That's interesting. What is it saying about you? You know what I mean? And then looking at the patterns, you know what I mean? Looking at the patterns of what your triggers are telling you about yourself. Let me ask you this. Usually in our lives, there's one or two people that are our biggest triggers in our lives. Who is your biggest triggerer? Who is the person that, every time you have a conversation, not every time, but every other time, or every 3 times you talk to them, they say something that triggers you? Usually, quiet as it's kept, those people are your biggest teachers in life. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm not even gonna hold you. I ain't even gonna hold you. But usually those people that are your biggest triggers are your biggest teachers in life. They teach you the greatest lessons. And so I know sometimes, it's cancel culture, is, cut them off, is, they're a hater, you don't need that type of negative energy in your life anyway, so I'm going to cut you off. I know it's all of that. But just understand, if you can know that everything is serving you, everything is not done to you, but for you, on your behalf, for your greatest good, even your triggers, even your traumas, even your wounds. If you can face them, face the person, and try to see the situation or see the trigger from the perspective of, what is this showing me about myself? What is this teaching me? If you could look at it from there before telling a person to scram, before cutting them off, before cancel, before blocking them, depending on who it is, before doing all of that, and before ignoring them, and before cutting off your lesson, pay attention to what they're saying, or at least the trigger. Maybe not in the moment, but maybe later on. And ask yourself, what is that revealing to me about myself? What is this situation trying to teach me or show me? It might be trying to show me that it's time to work on healing that particular situation. It might be telling you that your boundaries are weak. It might be telling you that people are too comfortable butting into your life, and that you need to have stronger boundaries. You need to reevaluate your boundaries. You need to reevaluate your people pleasing. It might be you need to forgive yourself, because whenever forgiveness comes up in a conversation, you're highly triggered. It might be you need to forgive your mother. You need to forgive your father. You need to hold your own, let your own bright light be the strongest energy in the room, and not let other people's heavy, dense energy suck you into their darkness. Hold your energetic boundaries so that you maintain your lightness and your buoyancy and your optimism and your happiness in any circumstance. Maybe your lesson is not letting their darkness bleed over into your lightness. You know what I mean? Who is your biggest trigger, and what are they trying to teach you? Don't block them out. Forgive them for telling them. Thank them. You don't have to thank them in like real life. You can maybe thank them in your own head. Thank you for showing me something about myself that I may not have been seeing. Thank you for holding up a mirror to me that I had not been seeing previous to this. I see now what I need to work on. for myself. I don't got to loop you into anything. I don't got to tell you nothing. I don't have to thank you personally. I just have to know that even my triggers are serving me. So when I am triggered, what is it revealing to me about me? How are my triggers snitching on me? How are my triggers telling me something I didn't know about myself, but now I do? Clink, 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 clink. You know what? I am not liking this drink tonight. It's too sour. It needs a little sweet. It needs more sweet. But that's okay. We still gonna make it do what it do. I actually do have a spoon here. Yes. So, I see you guys watching, but it is pretty quiet tonight in the comments. But that's okay. Some days we're super, super vocal, and some days we're quiet. But in any event, I'm here. Week number 32 of our Friday night kickbacks, where I go live each and every Friday night to talk about the topics you guys selected. Tonight we're talking about how your triggers snitch on you. We talked about what triggers are and what snitching actually means, and how ultimately that ends up serving you, because everything is serving us. That's our attitude over here, and we sticking to it. I do these videos so you know you're not out here alone in this sometimes crazy dating, living, loving, ascending, traveling world. If this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe. Smash, smash, smash that like button. And if you're an oldie but a goodie, good looking out. It's always good to see familiar faces in the building. Further saying we must be honest to ourselves. You know what I mean? You don't have to be if you don't want to. But ultimately, the truth can serve you in some senses. X, I know, right? X, hi, I was late to the party and usually quiet anyway. Well, it's good to see the familiar name. Appreciate you chiming in. I know I can see you guys watching. And sometimes we have a lot of people that watch but are like quiet, but that's okay. You ain't got to speak up. Anyway, guys, I think that was the topic for tonight. We're going to keep it short and sweet tonight, sometimes long and sometimes short. But in any event, smash that like button for the support, for the showing up. And next week we'll be on to week 33, consistent. You guys know on Friday Eve, aka Thursday nights, we drop our topics on Instagram and on YouTube. You guys vote. And then we get into topics. We make it do what it do. So if you have any suggestions for topics, be sure to drop them in the comments below the video. Chime in, sound off, and replay gang, strong around these parts. And so be sure to chime in as well, because we do learn from the collective wisdom of the It's Kells community. Be sure to check our Friday Night Kickbacks. We have a playlist of all of our Friday Night Kickbacks. So if you ever miss one of them, don't feel bad about it. Hop on over the next day, the Saturday, the Sunday, the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, any of those days. Check our playlist and catch up on the topics that we'll be talking about, because we dropping gems over here. Heavy. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. Clink, 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 clink. Cheers. Have an amazing weekend. Bye, guys.